Good morning, everyone. This is Patrick at Qdabra. I want to welcome you all to our weekly webinar. I hope you can all hear me okay. We have a new webinar for you this morning, and one of the things we're trying to do with these webinars is we're trying to talk about something that's happening right now. So something that happened to us in the last week and something that's happening in the world. So we have we're looking at something that was announced this week, actually, the iPhone announcement, and we're going to take a look at that and see how it applies to your online forms. So today, first of all, welcome. I think we have audio. If you can hear me, please raise your hand, and that will give me an indication. It looks like we have audio. Thank you very much. Just want to check on that. We are recording. Today, we're talking about something that's relevant, and it came up with one of our customers in the last week. And this is the question of, well, when do you decide to do it yourself and build a custom form solution versus using something out of the box? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that first, and that's going to set the stage for the demos. We have Elmel Clemente here, one of our divas in the design world. She's our form designer. She does a lot of mobile forms. We were doing a demo last week. She's going to show you this new demo that she created. And I'll do a demo of one of the techniques this week, and I'll show you how to add OCR text conversion to your form. I'll talk about what OCR is. And then she's going to do a demo of showing you how to go a step further and add a new web service to your form that actually identifies a face and uses it for locking and unlocking your form. So pretty cool stuff today. First off, what's the value of a custom solution? Well, you get a better fit, right? There's actually about 5 reasons, I think, for building something on your own. One is because you need that design, that level of design excellence, that level of fit that is exactly what your process needs, right? So you're aligning with some existing process. You don't have to adapt your team to something else that someone else has designed. So it's that optimal fit. It's the optimization around that tailored fit. It's that design excellence. For those of you that are using forms to automate your business process, you need that competitive advantage as well. You need, if you have competitors out there, you've got some secret sauce that you have been able to inject into your thing, whatever you make. And by creating something off by yourself, custom solution, then you can actually put that secret sauce into it. You don't have to rely on somebody else's. It's kind of like when you're buying bread. If you're going to the supermarket to buy bread, it's probably not going to be as good as if you made it at home. If you're an artisan bread maker, right? So you're never going to get something that is what we call industrial. What is it? Like if it's a huge process, a scale process, then you're never going to get the level of quality if you were to do it at a lower level of scale. More of an artisan kind of a tailoring. The third reason is because of stability and control. If you create it yourself, you don't have to worry about Microsoft pulling the rug out from under you. You don't have to worry about the service provider charging you new costs whenever you integrate with something new. There are no support surprises. You own it, you control it. And this is a big one. The fourth reason is because your business changes, the market changes, you need to be able to make changes quickly. You can't rely on some other service provider to do that. They may not decide, Microsoft may not decide to add a new service to Flow. They may say, hey, here's your 100 services, you can connect to those, but we're not going to give you the one you need because that's low on our priority list. But you can add it yourself if you need to. And then finally, you could use your solution and you can make some money from it by creating, by just reselling it. So those are the 5 reasons to build custom solutions. The reasons not to, well, if it's a cost is an issue, in other words, if you've got a budget and it's relatively constrained, then off the shelf is usually almost always significantly lower. That's not, there are cases where off the shelf will be actually more expensive, but it's unusual that would happen. Usually you get worse quality, less control, less support, that kind of thing. But usually the cost is cheaper. And usually there's something out there already. A good example is a leave request solution, right? You could just, or expense reports, right? You can go and there's probably at least 20 different apps for expense reports. And they're all going to allow you to, put receipts in and integrate it with probably with American Express and with your bank. So you've got those already there. They may not integrate with the exact service that you want, but they could, but they should be there. So anyway, there are some real benefits to off the shelf, cost and speed of deployment being the two big ones. So in summary, when you're doing something new and you have something that is relatively a commodity, it's not your secret sauce, it's something like simple surveys. I don't think advanced surveys would fit this, but if it's simple, choose off the shelf. If it's custom and you really need that control, then you're going to want to choose the do-it-yourself or the custom solution. And I've made a few, here's a reference to a website that has a nice summary as well with more text. So why does that matter here today? Well, in today's web, we have this big bang of data, big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning services are coming around. And there are thousands of them, and it's growing exponentially. The data formats are all different. Everyone uses a different format. So you could use off-the-shelf, something like Flow, right? But the problem is that there's limited connections. So Flow does about 100 connections today, and that's because every single time they connect, they have to set up the data connections. Look at Zapier, if this then that. Those services also support a large number of formats, but they're still in the low 100s. And the services space is growing so fast that they'll never cover all of them. There's a saying, the riches are in the niches. Well, there's going to be millions of these services, and these big connectors are not going to connect to every single one. And that connection is really mapping the data from that service to the elements in your form or your process where you need the data to be. And that process of mapping, that has to be done by a human, right? And there is no kind of common format so that machine learning could automatically figure it out, because everyone uses different field names, right? So that manual process is really the bottleneck here. Here's a link to Microsoft's blog, an update in January. They added 5 services. That was a big deal back in January. Well, bottom line is you're going to need you may need a custom service, and there are so many out there, it's almost guaranteed that everyone's going to want to pull data from these new services. Either you'll create a service yourself or you'll pull data from one of these new services, and that's really the point of this webinar. So the first demo is the optical character recognition. For those of you in the webinar last week, we kind of did a first run at this, but before I want to do this, I want to actually do a poll real quick. So I'm going to launch a poll. We just have one poll today, and we just want to get some quick feedback on what the #1 feature. We're talking about image analysis. There's lots of different kinds of image analysis. There's 5 reasons here that I've come up with. Maybe I should have put other as well. But take a minute and answer which of these 5 do you think is the most important? And we'll just take a quick look at the, and it could be, it doesn't have to be today, it could be for in the future. So it looks like most of you are saying identify who is in a picture. And that's great, because that's going to be our second demo. Okay, so back to the webinar. The first demo is OCR, and OCR is actually pretty important. Let's take a quick look at an example. So we did, in fact, I'm going to actually copy this link in and let you try it, but first I'm going to try it myself and show you what this is. So we have this form that we've created, and this form is based on our InfoPath Dev Forms Your template, which you can download from our InfoPath Dev site. Just go to InfoPath Dev, downloads, scroll down and click on Forms Viewer, and you can download the starter template. So we took the starter template, and what we did was we added this OCR text to it. And I'm going to show you how to add it to a form in an after, but I want to do the demo first to show you what it does. So we'll just, the idea is that you're in the field, that you've got a mobile device, but you don't have to be. You can just, be on your desktop and say, well, it's Thursday, so I'm going to choose my Thursday image here, and we'll see if it can convert the text. So what it's doing here is it's taking my image, and it's actually getting the text out. And you can see that there's a space missing here between only and Thursday. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good, right? So let's take a look. Let's do one more example real quick. And these are pictures that I've just scanned in. I'll just pick another random one here. This one's actually going to be vertical. So you can see that the Google Vision API, it works pretty much regardless of the, so this one here says, failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you're not innovating enough. That was actually a quote from Elon Musk that is at this Pacific Science Center in Seattle. So this one actually is perfect. So, but this is more likely you're going to have like a document, like a receipt or something like that. But basically this is what we're doing, is we're basically taking an image and we're extracting the text so that you can search on it. That's the benefit. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you guys play with this, and while you're trying your own images, I'll give you an anonymous link to this. I'll just paste it into the window here, the chat window, so you can try it out on your own. While you're testing this, I'm going to actually show you how I created it. So, before I show you, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. So the demo, basically, it's really simple. You're going to add a part, a form template part, an XML template part to your form, and it's part of the webinar package as well. You'll insert it. You'll add an API key, because you have to use an API key for Google to let it know which account you're going to use. And Google's free for thousands of conversions per month, so it's really inexpensive. And then you'll save your form, upload it to Form 0, and then we'll start using it. So let's do this for a new form. So I'm just going to start from scratch. I'm going to just launch the InfoPath Designer. We're still using the InfoPath Designer, but we are adding new designer features to Forms Viewer this quarter as well. We added a few last quarter. We're doing much more this quarter. And it was kind of this gradual process. By this time next year, you shouldn't have to use InfoPath Designer. We'll create a new form. It's just going to be a browser-based form. And I've got here this OCR. I'm going to add this OCR control that we are going to provide to you. So we've created an OCR control. It's called OCR XTP. And I think I've already done this, so it's going to give me an error saying I've already done it. Yeah, so I've already done this. I'm just going to use the one I've got. And but that's how you add it. So I've got the one I've added last night, and that is right here. So just add it to my form, and oops, this is the wrong one. This is the sorry. Let me try this again. So if this wasn't a demo, obviously, you wouldn't have any errors. But we'll try it again here. And that was the next one. I don't know why I named it that, but I've got two in here that have a confusing name. So I believe what I want is, I need to add it. I need to delete it and add it again, probably. Yeah, let me try to do that. Let me try to delete it and add it again. So I'm going to go into custom controls and remove it. And so let's see if this is it. This looks like it is correct. Okay. Okay, so when you add the XTP, we added this text to your to the XTP to basically to help you quickly deploy it. So it's really quite simple. What you're going to do is you're going to go into this data source that is in the XTP, and you're going to if you already have cure-alls in your form, you're going to just leave this as is. But if you don't have cure-alls in your form, you can just remove this. You don't actually need cure-alls for this. You can just add it to any form. If you're deploying with Form 0, it'll work just fine. What you're going to do is you're going to add, just follow the instructions, and the first step is to add this API key. So this is the key that tells Google which account to use. And so I've got this key here, and don't use our key, please. Use your own key, but it's easy to sign up. So, and then once you've done that, we can just delete these steps because we've already done step 2, and we don't need to do step 3 because we don't have cure-alls. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Google Vision OCR data source, and we're going to select underneath actions, there is a process image, and we're going to change the rule called process results to add an action that sets the data in the main data source. And this is going to be this result here. And that's going to be the result of the processing of the image, which is, I believe it's OCR text. And then we're done. So we'll just delete this little help text here. And we're going to save this form. I'm going to call it OCR blank 1 or blank 2. And then we just upload it to Form 0. So we go to Form 0, we're going to upload a new template. I'll call it OCR blank 2. Actually, in the new Form 0, you don't actually need to specify the name. You can just go to where your form is, and it'll automatically assume the name of the form template. And we'll put this in the webinar group. And now we can actually use it. So this is a blank form, so we're not going to have the header and the footer that we had with the other one. We just get this text box, but we can add the text now to the form. We're going to actually, let's pick some other picture here. See if I can find something funny. So we have a coffee mug. And what does the coffee mug say? Drink coffee, do stupid things faster with more energy. And of course, it's not perfect, but it gets the text. So that's the quick OCR example. Any questions? Were people able to actually click on the link in the chat window? If you were, raise your hand. Doesn't look like we have any questions yet. So I'm going to continue. So basically, what we did was, the OCR is beneficial because you do need to add things that are not digitized. So sometimes you'll need to take a picture of some notes. Like if you're taking out a notebook, you might actually need to convert those notes into text. You might need to convert receipts or checks or something into text. And so OCR is pretty common today. 10 years ago, it was not common. There was, ScanSoft had an API in Microsoft Office that you could use, but it was relatively uncommon. Today, there's lots of services online that will return digitized text for images. And Google's got a great one because it's low cost and it's fast and it's high quality. Okay, so that's demo number 1. Now, what I've added here, I've got 4 slides on how it works. So you can actually walk through these slides and you can understand how the form does what it does. The benefit of the XTP is we've done that for you. So we've done the steps to do this conversion. The Form 0 Designer changes that are coming out in 2.3 in November will include JSON to XML mapping. So it'll be a little bit easier. Instead of 11 steps, it'll be, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6. But in the meantime, there are a few steps that you have to do. You do not need a developer to do this, but you do need to map the data. So let's look at demo number 2. And for demo number 2, we're looking at another web service. So unfortunately, Google Vision API does not do face identification. It does face detection. You'd think that Google would do it, but they haven't exposed it as part of their API. But there are lots of other big data AI service providers that have, including Kairos. So I discovered Kairos literally on Tuesday. Very happy with their service. We're going to take a look at that next. And I've already got a demo set up here. And what I'm going to do is just show you this demo here. I think. So what we've done is we're using face recognition to lock the form, and the reason for this is, and you can imagine that this is not a desktop, this is a mobile device, but it works fine on the desktop as well. So to show you, I'll take a picture of my wife here, and so she's going to lock the form, and her image is going to be associated with the form. And if so, it obviously has to save the image into the service online, and then you can see it's using my username. Obviously, I'm the one logged in. But let's say that someone else comes along, like let's say, does this work? I need to click here to unlock it. The UI is a little bit flaky with this example, but to unlock it, I need to add my image again. So I'm going to choose an image, and let's say that my cat comes along and my cat decides to try to unlock the form. What's going to happen? Well, it's going to submit the image to Kairos. Kairos is going to compare the image to my wife's image or my image, and it's going to say, nope, you're not the same person, forget it. Okay, so let's try it again with a different image. So we'll take a different picture of my wife, and this image will work, and you can see it's unlocked. So and so this is pretty cool, and it's obviously you don't have to use cats. I mean, you can use, like, I could try to lock this with her image again here. Let's take a look at this image, and if we choose, we'll choose a different image here. We'll choose my image. Silly Patrick here, and it doesn't work. So obviously you need to be the same person, and that's the really cool thing about the UI. Now the form, if we were smarter, what we would do is we would make it look a little better, so you could see the match, you could see the before and after images to make it a little more, the UI be a little bit better. And we need to do that, but you can see how this is working. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to Mel Clemente as presenter. She's going to do this on her mobile device. Mel, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Hi, everyone.
Cool. Okay, you are presenter now.
Thank you. All right, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So here's the mobile emulator. I'm trying to show my Android device and loaded the same form that Patrick just showed you. And I'm going to try to unlock this first. And on mobile, it's going to give you options to take a picture using your camera or pick from your existing images. And we're going to just take a picture of myself here. All right. And I'm gonna click OK. And looks like I'm happy today though. Hope everybody's enjoying this webinar so far. So that form is gonna try to query the Kairos web service, just like what Patrick explained to you guys. And it's taking a little more time because the image resolution in my phone is bigger. So it's got my login there, my login information. If I try to unlock this, and we'll first try to unlock just picking from a non-image here. And it's going to fail, obviously. And if I just unlock it using, my own picture, but of course it's going to be a brand new camera capture here. Just trying to simulate that I'm as if locking and locking my phone with, face identification. And let's see how that compares. See if that works. I didn't smile the second time, so maybe. All right, there we go. It's unlocked. So
Yay.
yeah.
Way to go, Mel. That's awesome. So what Mel showed is we have to actually store the image first in the Kairos gallery so that you have something to compare against. So the way you'd use this process on your forms, I mean, there's lots of ways you can imagine using this. One is to unlock your forms, and we've got an XML template part that we'll give you maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We're not quite done with it right now. But
Yeah.
we'll be giving you this thing just like the OCR text that make it really easy for you to add this to your forms to lock it, because we think that locking is probably one of the key use cases for this feature, just like it is on your phone. But you could also think of it for approvals. So you could have a list of people that are approvers, like in a SharePoint list, or you could have and they could be associated with a picture of the approver. And then when the approver comes online, it checks their username, right? And then it looks up the approver's username. Okay, that's a match, good. At least they are logged in as the approver, right? Then you also can check their picture as a verification. So it's kind of like using a PIN or a signature, but it's a little bit easier for the user because they don't have to actually do anything. And they don't have to sign anything. They don't have to remember their PIN. They can just look at the camera. So those are the sort of the use cases I can think of. So it's pretty cool. So the reason why we're still using InfoPath and FormsViewer is that you can create these custom solutions. You don't need a developer. And InfoPath connects to any online SOAP and REST web services. FormsViewer allows you to extend that to the plethora, the huge number of JSON services out there today, which we did today. We showed you 2 JSON web services, the Google Vision API and the Kairos.com. And we provide mobile support, you saw that as well, and much more. In fact, what is much more? Well, it's really about controlling the future of your forms and improving performance, also adding these missing features. You've got signature capture, we did that a couple weeks ago. We've got mobile. The design time is just drag and drop to the FormsViewer managed templates, so you don't have to go through a lengthy publish process. We do have updates coming. We're going to be looking at rules in the designer in 2.3, and then data source changes via the browser hopefully in the first quarter of next year. We have free training coming up on October 3rd. It's actually 3 days. We're not going to do the 6. We'll do 3, 4, and 5. It's going to be 2 hours a day, starting at 8 a.m. Pacific. Look forward to having you there. Any questions on this quick weekly webinar? Questions or comments? We've got a quick survey at the end here, just for silly questions for you to lighten your day a bit. And we'll send out this package in about an hour or two. It looks like, let's see, do we have any comments or questions? Looks like we don't. You guys are really boring today. Let us know if you have questions. We're just going to give it one more second here. And I want to thank you, Mel, for being here and doing this wonderful webinar demo again, like you did last week. We look forward to having everyone in next week's webinar. We haven't decided what it is yet, but if you have any ideas, please let us know. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.